Right, hey guys, how we doing? Back on another video from AniNews. We've got some more That Time I Was Reincarnated as a Slime video, and we are checking out how Rimuru became a Demon Lord, and we're just going to get straight into it. Let's get the explanation. Boom.
Before we can start talking about how strong Rimuru is as a Demon Lord, we first need to understand how he got there. Reason being that being a Demon Lord in the world of Tensida is more than just a
You can't just say you won.
Into extremely strong and fearsome individuals. It's also a class of monster in which any species can evolve into.
Which is really interesting. I like that, like, potentially anything could become one.
Characteristics as a slime had changed to match that. As for how it happened, well, that's exactly what we're going to look at here.
Cool.
That, as well as a very important aspect of Great Sage's evolution that wasn't really shown in the anime.
Oh.
The process behind evolving into what's known as a Demon Lord is actually quite simple in comparison to what happens during it. Once the strength and magic kill requirements have been met, all that's left is to become a Demon Lord seed, gather a few tens of thousands of souls, then start the Harvest Festival.
That's all.
Making it a three-stage process in which the Harvest
Become a Demon Lord, gather 10,000 plus souls.
There is a bit of ambiguity when it comes to how to become the Demon Lord seed, but typically the requirements focus on making sure the candidate is powerful enough.
Right, just strength.
So that pretty much means having a high
BOP.
enough capacity for magicules, a great number of skills along with a unique one,
Which is what
and just
Rimuru's
an overall
got.
high level of power.
Yeah, he's
Pretty
got
much
it in
have to already be as
spades.
strong as a Demon Lord. Once you've gotten to that point, though, that's when things start to get a bit easier.
Right.
The next step is to simply gather tens of thousands of souls.
Simply.
The exact number varies from person to person,
Jesus.
but it's certainly an easy task for anyone whose power is already on par with the Demon Lords. That is, of course, unless you have a strong moral compass that makes you hesitant to do so. Either way, it's also a necessary part of the evolution that served to help nourish the Demon Lord seed. It's the catalyst that allows for the beginning of the Harvest Festival. The actual event in which a Demon Lord seed grows into a true Demon Lord, and the fruits of said harvest are taken and
then
distributed
onwards.
among all their subordinates as gifts. Now, an important aspect about Rimuru's transformation in specific was the method he had used to acquire his souls. Yes, we already know that they were from the troops of Varmus.
Yeah.
What's interesting to note is the significance of the attacks he used.
Right.
So, first a 30-mile wide anti-magic area was deployed to cover the entirety of Varmus's armies.
Right.
Thus negating the casting of any magic whatsoever, as well as removing any potential options for escape.
Yeah, they can't get out.
Next was to initiate an attack that bypassed the innate magical properties of the barriers surrounding them. Because Varmus knew that they were up against a nation of monsters, it was pretty obvious that they had set up numerous precautions to defend
Yeah, all the crystals and stuff, yeah.
They had put in place a form of magic known as Legion Magic, which was the mass joint casting of a spell that effectively detected and nullified various magical elements from significant distances. So, what Rimuru had done to counter this was create a new type of attack that could bypass it. A new form of magic whose output was completely physical.
Ridiculous, man.
See, because Varmus's barriers only worked to stop the flow of magicules, that meant that if the output of an attack didn't have any, then it could easily bypass the barrier as if it wasn't even.
Wow, cool.
So, that's exactly what Rimuru made happen with his new physics magic. By combining his magic manipulation with the knowledge he'd gained from Charybdis' magic jamming, Rimuru was able to create the attack.
He's so OP, man,
it was
it's
a
ridiculous.
devastating barrage of lasers whose foundations were built on spirit magic, and a net result that was nothing more than a clever application of science. Now, the way it worked was mainly by using the sun as a catalyst to create highly concentrated beams of light.
Obviously.
Rimuru would summon water elementals all throughout the area around him, then shape them into numerous convex lenses that would start to gather rays of sunlight. With these lenses now refracting the broad rays of light into a more concentrated
Blast
product, the end result is then passed through a single smaller water droplet. A different water elemental that focuses the light through a single point of exit. So, it's here that the rays
It's
of light
crazy,
are not
this
only
stuff he
condensed
can do,
even
man.
further, but also channeled in a way that allows them to be aimed at whatever target Rimuru wants, resulting in a pencil-thin beam of sunlight whose temperature exceeds several thousand degrees of Celsius.
Redonkulous. Look at that. Burnt straight through his head,
the
man.
attack itself was actually highly efficient. The only sort of energy it cost was whatever was needed to summon the elementals. The rest was pure science and math that could easily be handled by Great Sage.
Easily.
Plus, since the attack was the purest of natural...
The Great Sage is just basically an AI that's just like calculating.
...would never be able to defend against it. That was what made the entire thing so genius. It was a brilliant attack that rendered the unsuspecting Varmus army completely defenseless.
Yeah, they had no idea and they didn't know what to do, yeah.
...that could be fired from over 6,000 miles away and still find its way in under 34 milliseconds.
Jesus.
Now, after the 10th volley of light had annihilated what was well over half of the entire army, that's when Merciless was obtained and activated to clean up the rest.
Cool.
Basically, any soldier who had lost their will to fight was now susceptible to their instant and simultaneous death.
Jesus.
A much faster method of obtaining the rest of the souls required for
Isn't it? It's like, just do half, and then the other half, like, well, we can't go anywhere, you're dead. We can't fight, you're dead.
The event in which Rimuru would evolve from a slime into a demon slime.
Sick.
So, it's here that the anime gave us a pretty entertaining visual depiction of what had happened. But that also made it hard to notice one of the most important aspects of it.
Oh, right.
I mean, I myself didn't even notice that Great Sage and the Voice of the World were talking to each other.
Oh.
Since the two of them share the same voice. The fact that Great Sage had done something to indicate its first ever sense of self had completely slipped by me. What I'm talking about exactly is the initial moment when Rimuru's evolution had finished.
Yeah.
Or, well, was supposed to finish.
There's completes the evolution.
I'm not talking about the time when he resurrected looking like Jesus, but instead the initial time when the Voice of the World had completed upgrading all his bodily attributes and resistances.
Oh.
This was supposed to be where Rimuru's evolution had stopped. All that extra stuff where his unique skills had become ultimate ones wasn't something that should have even happened.
Oh.
At least not without Great Sage's intervention anyway. So, when the Voice of the World had declared Rimuru's evolution complete, Great Sage had stepped in to request its own evolution.
Oh,
this may not
that's
seem
cool.
Significant because of how it was portrayed in the anime, but the fact that there was no master telling Great Sage what to do spoke volumes to indicate this to be an action carried out by its own volition.
Huh.
It was almost as if it was responding to Rimuru's commands without even needing to be told it.
Yeah, like, yeah,
As Great Sage
without
tried
permission.
to evolve itself over and over. The only constant through any of the processes was failure. Hundreds of millions of attempts were made in a trial and error process that seemed as if it would last forever. All because Great Sage had the inexplicable desire to fulfill the wish of its master.
Right.
Had Great Sage approached this task from a purely mathematical standpoint, then it wouldn't have even tried since it already knew that the odds were so low.
Huh,
That's
interesting.
just how slim the chances of it successfully evolving were. But because it knew succeeding would make its master's wish that much more
It just
Great
gonna
Sage
do it.
continued with its ongoing effort to an extent that approached infinity.
Whoa.
Eventually reaching the Harvest Festival gift it knew it yearned for.
Cool.
There was no joy to be felt when it got there, but it did feel a sincere sense of fulfillment. As a conceptual intelligence who supposedly lacked a soul, emotion was something it could never hope to understand. That's why even after finally being rewarded for its infinite effort, it still remained estranged to what should have been a celebratory occasion. That said, there was something about doing what it had set out to accomplish that had left it fulfilled. The Great Sage turned Raphael was satisfied with having achieved what its master wanted.
Cool.
It's not like Rimuru dictated that this was something that needed to be done. But it was an action that Raphael knew would directly assist with obtaining Rimuru's goal. So, despite being this soulless, emotionless part of Rimuru's
Doesn't seem it.
Raphael seemed pretty intent on doing whatever it could to make its
Yeah,
master's dreams
there's something going on there.
almost as if to imply that it had manifested a will of its own.
Yeah, seems it, yeah.
As it continued to do everything it could for the sake of its master. Raphael further extended Rimuru's evolution by creating yet another ultimate skill. A tool that was perfectly crafted to more effectively handle his each and every desire. That was the key aspect of the Harvest Festival that I think we missed out on. Now, if you listen closely to the actual scene in the anime, there was actually a point in which Raphael speaks in a voice that's completely distinct from the Voice of the World. One that sounds much more human than it does machine.
Right. Yeah.
So, if I had to guess, then I would say that this was the anime's attempt to display the change that the novel described as Raphael's sense of self.
Oh, cool. Right.
Where this point gets hammered in even further was actually through an interesting description of Raphael's thought process throughout the whole resurrection ritual.
Whoa.
You see, after all the computations and calculations had finished, the success that followed didn't bring with it any sort of emotion. Once again, this conceptual intelligence couldn't feel happiness towards the work it had done. Emotion was still this concept that was far from being understood. Despite that being the case, though, deep down there did exist some semblance of a heart that shouldn't even be there. There was no doubt that at some point along the way, a will of its own had manifested from deep within the depths of Rimuru's soul.
Right.
It was the only explanation as to why Great Sage had forced its own evolution in such a rogue fashion.
Yeah, because why would it, yeah.
Then, when Raphael pondered to
If it didn't seem logical, then why would it do it,
that
yeah.
very thought was proof enough to indicate that it now had a sense of self that was separate from
Like a
its
computer wouldn't
master.
go, oh no,
The
like,
concept was still a new
I'm just
one
gonna
that
keep going until I get it. It's like,
The thesis it had come up with to explain it was
That's the,
therefore I am. A theory that it would
what was
find
it?
itself
Insanity
contemplating about constantly,
is
for that thesis
doing the
alone
same
wasn't
thing
quite the answer
and
that it was
expecting the
looking
same result.
Regardless, Raphael knew that it would continue to work for the sake of its master. It would continue to guys assess and act in an absolute way that bordered on perfection.
Damn,
All for the
it's like,
single
we're gonna
purpose
do
of
this.
making Rimuru's wishes become reality.
Yeah, we're gonna do it. We're gonna get there.
So, once you consider what actually happened during Rimuru's evolution, you kinda gotta give a lot of credit to Great Sage for forcing its evolution.
Definitely, Jesus.
If it hadn't done that,
It just
then
seemed
Rimuru
impossible,
certainly
yeah.
wouldn't have the ultimate skills he would now. And that was one of the main points that I wanted to highlight with this video. It
That's
also
cool.
serves as a good intro towards his Demon Lord powers that we'll talk about next video. So, if that's something that you're interested in,
Yes.
then be sure to subscribe so you'll get notified the instant.
Be sure to click the link in the description to the original video and leave a like on it. Mate, cool. I can't wait to see the powers explained. Like, the powers explained before Demon Lord was cool, so now we're on the Demon Lord stuff. Gonna be cool. Like, I love it. Rimuru is so OP. It's amazing, and I like the whole Great Sage stuff and the stuff from the manga that was left out, and a bit of an explanation of the talking in that when Great Sage was dealing. So that's cool. That's awesome. So I like that. Looking forward to more. Thank you to my patrons. If you want to have your name at the end of every video I upload, link is in the description to the Patreon page. $1 a month is all I ask to help support the channel. Greatly appreciated. Thank you guys very much for that. And thank you all for watching. What do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of this? Click like, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave comments down below. Let me know what I should watch and discuss in future videos. And I'll see you guys. All you guys.